My next guest is the president and CEO of one of the largest liquids-rich natural gas producers in the Marcellus Shale. Joining me now is Jeff Ventura from Ranger Resources. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
Now, you shared some exciting news during your presentation this morning. You announced test results for the second Upper Devonian well in southwest Pennsylvania. How will this affect your plans for developing the area?
Well, we announced several new things this morning, so I'd encourage everyone to go out on the website to look at that, but one in particular was the Upper Devonian. Our second well in the Upper Devonian tested at a rate of 6.6 million cubic feet equivalent per day. Importantly, it's 3.9 million per day of gas and 459 barrels of liquids per day. With ethane extraction, that actually would have been 8.3 million per day and over 800 barrels of liquids, and next year we'll begin extracting ethane. So the difference really between our first and second wells is we landed in a different interval and we completed it differently, but it's very exciting, and it talks about the potential of the Upper Devonian. In southwest Pennsylvania, the hydrocarbon in place in the Upper Devonian is equal to the Marcellus, and the thermal maturity is the same, so you have the advantage of the wet and the dry. And that's another reason we like the Appalachian Basin, and particularly where we are in the southwest, is not only do you stack Upper Devonian, below that the Marcellus, and below that the Utica.
And Jeff, your results this year in the horizontal Mississippian play have continued to improve. Can you discuss why this play is so important to Range?
It's very important. We have 152,000 net acres in the Mississippian. And not only do we have the acreage, but where it's located up on the Nemaha Ridge we think is core. And there's over 4,500 historical wells that delineate where the Mississippian is in its fluid content. And we feel all of that acreage is very prospective. When you look at that acreage and you look at 50-acre spacing that we think is reasonable for a Mississippian well, that's potentially 3,000 wells that could be over 1 billion barrels net to Range. So there's a lot of potential there. And importantly, as good as our first batch of well was, 2011, 10 and 11 wells averaged a little under 500,000 barrels per well. This year's program is over 600,000. And the rates of return, whether it's 500,000 or 600,000, you're looking at current strip pricing somewhere between high 70s to over 100% rate of return on our location. So it's large scale, repeatable, high rate of return in oil. We like it a lot.
And on your second quarter conference call, you discussed some excellent results from wells in the dry gas area in Pennsylvania. With the current emphasis on liquids-rich drilling, why are you drilling in this area?
Well, you know, a lot of people look at oil and wet drilling right now with where oil and gas prices are, but these wells are very prolific, and even under current strip pricing, still have a rate of return in 37% range. With $4 gas or $5 gas, you move up into the 70 to 100% rate of return. We have 235,000 acres of dry gas alone in Southwest. It's basically all held by production. So it's a great resource for us. It's a great complement to our 335,000 wet acres or super rich acres down in the Southwest. And it's important when you look at the historical drilling that's occurred across that acreage by Range in the industry, there's 45% of the wells on that acreage position are over 5 BCF of gas, several over 10 and some over 20. And these are wells that are 6,500 to 7,000 foot deep, so very prolific and a great resource to enable us to continue to grow for years to come.
And you also mentioned during your presentation that you believe your Marcellus acreage in southwest Pennsylvania is significantly de-risked with drilling that has been done to date by Range and others. What leads you to this conclusion? Well,
when you look, Range discovered the Marcellus back in 2004, and that first discovery well came on in 2005. Since then, 1,500 wells have been drilled by Range in the industry right in that area where we have our 570,000 acres. 1,000 of them are horizontal, 500 vertical. And really the quality of the wells is very good. So basically all of that acreage, 100% of it is highly prospective. So we're excited about the acreage. You know, when you look at 80-acre spacing, which is reasonable for Marcellus, that means we have the potential to drill over 7,000 horizontal wells in that area. To date, we have about 300 producing about 390 million cubic feet per day net. So 300 wells represents developing only about 4% of our acreage. So we're getting 390 million per day from 4% of our acreage, which talks about the prospectivity of the acreage, and again, comes with very strong rates of returns. You can look at those on our website.
And how will the Sunoco announcement last week affect you folks?
The Sunoco announcement is very important. We've got a great resource. We've got 1 million net acres in the state of Pennsylvania, prospective for shale, really more than that because of the stack pay potential. And down in the Southwest where we have the wet Marcellus, you have the wet gas, and with it you have all the NGLs and the ethane. So it's important, we think, to have multiple outlets for that, more competition. We've signed 2 existing ethane agreements, one taking ethane on Mariner West up to Sarnia, Canada, the other one on Atex down to the Gulf Coast. So the Mariner East project's the ability to move ethane and propane over to Philadelphia for access to the Northeast markets and also potentially to export. So it's very exciting. It's an additional outlet. If you look at just the 2 existing outlets that we have already signed, and for the second, not even counting Mariner East, with minimum ethane extraction, we can get to, it enables us to get to up to 1.3 BCF per day from our wet and super rich area in the Southwest. With just the first 2 deals. So obviously the third deal would expand that, and we think it's a great opportunity.
Well, Jeff, we wish you continued success at Range 2012 and beyond. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. Great talking with you.
Jeff Ventura from Range Resources. I'm Quinn Nguyen for oilandgas360.com.